camera's all blurry. Come on. Get it together. Get it together. I don't know, is it? Is my camera focusing, or is it looking blurry still? Because it looks blurry. Wow, I'm trying to get it together. Oh. Focus. What's the deal? I ain't had no problem having it focus before. Up and running. Technical difficulties have ensued. All right, so we're live. We've been live for a minute. Haha. So, hey, what's up with Art Gremlin? Welcome to the live. This is my first test trial of being live on TikTok and YouTube simultaneously, and I don't know if I can say either one of those apps' names while live streaming on the other app, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But hey, so what's up, boss uncle? Let's go. We're going for 3,100. I've been setting my goals in increments of 100 at a time. So the last several days I have went from 2,400 to over 3,000 trying to do that, and it's working 100 at a time. Keep it going. And after I get TikTok to 10, then I'm going to reshift back to focusing on getting Facebook and YouTube built up even more, and in the process I'm still feeding into Facebook and YouTube. I'm not giving up on them. I'm just focusing a lot of my extra efforts into TikTok right now while it's working so well for me. So that's that. But yeah, I was kind of getting ready to start when I was going live on the test trial, basically getting a little bit vulnerable here and kind of letting people know some of the roots of where this started, who I am, why I am who I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, without being too, I don't want to be too loose about details on certain things that I may or may not have been involved in, but really, like I was starting to say earlier, was a big part of it starts from childhood. I think everybody's life or experience or journey has to really look back to where it started as like grade school, middle school, high school kind of thing. And I just was that person that didn't really fit into any particular group. I didn't make choir, band, or anything like that, so I wasn't in that group. I played sports, but by the time I made it to high school, I didn't even really, in my opinion, get a fair shot to continue to play sports. Like the baseball tryouts, I was always great at baseball. I played Corey League baseball my whole life, and when it got to high school baseball tryouts, I think I got to bat one time and fielded like 2 balls from center field, and not really much of a chance to show off anything that I had spent from like 5 years old to 14 or 15 years old learning to do. But that's neither here nor there. The thing was, I did not have a group. I didn't fit into anything. So one of the things, even at home, I had a lot of brothers and sisters and a big full house of people, and it was like everybody at home had their little who stuck by who, and I just wasn't in any of that. So it was kind of me off by myself, writing lyrics, writing at the time I thought was poetry, to be honest. And I did a lot of stupid things then. You know, high school was basically anytime anybody said anything that was somewhat offensive to me, it turned into a fight. And it got so much of that instead of getting kicked out of school and fighting in school, we actually had designated places we would go to after school and fight. And I wasn't the baddest, most professional fighter, so I lost about as many as I won, or maybe more. I really took some beatings, but by the time I was 17, I went to the Marine Corps, which at the time was the best thing that could have happened to me. But also looking back on it, I was like barely 17, and I was not ready for what that did to me. I mean, there were some really good things. It developed me into the work ethic that I have. It made me the man that I am as far as setting goals and getting things done. It was, the foundation for everything that's came since, but it was also physical toll that it took on my body, and it was a mental toll that it took on me playing the games that they play in the Marine Corps mentally, that I don't think I ever fully recovered from those things. But coming home, it was in the early Obama ages. And I say that not to knock Obama, because, we all love Obama and his ability to speak or whatever. But the economy, it was like the housing collapse. And even as a veteran, I couldn't get a job at McDonald's. There was some leaning back on who or what I thought I was prior to the Marine Corps. And that led me into the streets. And that led me into making some very poor decisions based on predetermined mindsets that there was only really one real way to make it. In my mind, I'm not saying anybody forced me to think this way, and I'm not saying that people are still being forced to think this way, but in my mind, it was like you had two options going through school. You had really two options. It was either you were going to go be a factory worker somewhere and work 50 or 60 hours a week, and hopefully by the time you're in your 70s, you could like relax from that a little bit and enjoy whatever you had left of your life. Or you could choose to not follow any of the rules. You take however you want to take that for what that means, but not choose to follow any of the rules and make your own way however you seem fit. And I did a lot of that. And I found a way to do it for quite a while without it catching me up in any kind of troubles. But it led to a really bad stint of alcoholism. It led to me putting myself in positions that just, the more you do that's not morally right, that doesn't sit right with you deep inside, the more you bring that energy back to you from every angle. So the more bad decisions I made, the more crap I was having to deal with from every angle. Even things that should just be easy and fluent to deal with became complicated. And it was a result of the decisions I was making on a day-to-day basis. Another thing that really set me back pretty badly was would have been my firstborn daughter. I had a car accident. I was driving. She did not make it. And then that went really deep into the whole alcohol thing after that. Like to a point where I have blocks of times that I don't even remember. I couldn't remember if you asked me to. Which was already part of the problem with me before because of the military stuff, but it was alcoholism so deep that I woke up to Tylenols and bottles of alcohol, and I didn't stop until there was no alcohol left and I was ready to pass out for years straight, every day, all day. How I kept jobs when I did, or how I managed to make it through month to month on bills, I to this day could not even venture to try to tell you, because I did. I I was still a tax-paying citizen at that point. I had gotten to a point where I wanted a family life, and in my early 20s, I had strayed away from some problems as far as me choosing to do the wrong things, and I was working and I was trying to put my life together, but I wasn't looking at the depression and the anxiety and the stress and all of those things causing me to be such an alcoholic. So it caused me to consistently have marital problems once I was married. And I had my wife leave and take my two youngest kids, or my two only kids at the time. And that made me give up on the whole work to make a way. And I turned back to the streets and I ended up in prison. So between the daughter dying, I was the one driving the car, and the marital problems, and the turning back to the streets and ended up in prison, I had a choice to make while I was sitting in prison. I was either going to give up on life completely, which was a very easy decision to make. Like, I could have easily chose that choice and it would have been easier than what I've been through since. But the other decision was to face everything head on. All of my problems. Remember, I was just saying that there was like 5 or 10 year period there where it was such an alcoholic problem that I was not even remembering what all was going on in life. Like I to this day don't have memories and recollections of all of it. Well, somehow during that time I managed through enough that I was like $100,000 in debt. Again, still had my marital problems, sitting in prison. And my wife and kids were 600 miles away because they had left. And I made the conscious decision that I was going to face it all head on as hard as I can. And I got home from prison after 2 years, and I got a job, and I moved 600 miles, got a job, got a house, got a car, stayed sober, done everything I could to fight for my kids, to get my kids. Created new kids, and still could not get my oldest kids. So I restarted again, and I came 600 miles back, and I set my life up again and got a house and got a job, got a house, done everything I could, and I ended up with my two youngest kids. And after a couple years of working the regular jobs and paying everything down that I was in debt to and having my kids, I thought to myself, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I'm miserable. I'm doing all this, but I'm miserable. So what should I do? You know, and I decided to put my recording studio stuff back together, which along the way of the past 10 or 15 years, I've recorded on and off constantly. But for the last few years, all I've been doing is paying down debt and taking care of the kids. So March of this year, I started piecing it all together. And by April 20th, I was releasing a song. And every 2 weeks since April 20th, I've released a song. I've released like 6 videos so far, and there's still 4 more official videos coming. I've been pushing on TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. And I'm standing here today sitting here today and saying this to this camera because no matter how many times I get on any of those, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, there's always this group of people that they want to discourage anybody. They want to hate on anybody. And I don't care. Honestly, I don't give a single word I should not put right there, explicit, or whatever the heck. I don't care. What I care about is, out of the 8 billion people are out there, I know there's hundreds of thousands of people or tens of thousands. It might be one person. I don't care how many people it is. There's somebody out there that's in one of those stages I was just talking about. Of all those things, that looking back on it, I can say, yeah, I put myself through that. But in that moment, in those times, when you're going through those things and you're feeling those pressures and life is literally about to kill you, life is about to suck the life out of you, there's nobody there that's showing you the guidance of, hey, this is how we get out of this. There's nobody there looking, going, you still have this. At any given moment in time, you make the conscious decision to turn all of this around, but it's going to be a fight. And you're going to need God, and you're going to need whatever belief system you have, whatever positive energy you can muster up beneath all of that hatred and ignorance and just being lost and all that defeat that you feel. Whatever you can muster up in positivity, you're going to need every ounce of that, because you're probably going through all that because you're supposed to save somebody else in 3 years or in 5 years or whenever your time comes. And that's why I'm sitting here today, because there's somebody that's going to hear one of my songs, or somebody that's going to see me on one of these lives or on one of these videos, and it's going to make them think, well, that sorry son of a bitch can do it, I can do it. You know, I'm not special, I'm not better than anybody else, and I don't claim to be, but I'll work harder than anybody and find a way to make it happen. And if I can do it, so can anybody else, any average person, if they put their mind to it and they put their heart to it. You got this, you know? And that's what I'm here for. You know, I don't always know what's next or how it's going to happen. Sometimes you can ask the people close to me. I will take on so much at one time that it's impossible to achieve every single thing that I'm taking on at once. And it makes me forget the big picture of what I'm trying to do. But I've learned to grit up and man up and keep pushing through every single portion of it. And I want to help other people see that too. I want other people to go, you know, when I was 16 or 17, I swore I'd be a millionaire. I even at one point told my mom I'd be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. When you get to the point where I'm at right now, you realize that it really isn't as much about being a millionaire as you thought it was. You would care more about being able to do the things that you've set out to do without having to worry about what comes with juggling the finances of it. So if that means a little bit needs set up in an extra account because of this, or it can come from this and be sat there, then that's what that means, sure. But it doesn't mean that it has to be $1 million or $100 million, or you don't have to be a billionaire. You just have to be able to make enough to keep going. And I still have obstacles. It just as the same as everybody else will, because all of a sudden, oh, I'm 10 grand up. You're 10 grand up. That person's 10 grand up. Now the government wants $4,000 because the IRS says something was wrong 4 years ago on a tax return, or car breaks down, or this, that, and third. It's not, it doesn't matter. The money isn't the fucking end all. Excuse my language. It's good to create the income, but to me, it's becoming more important to create the message. Keep Going, Never Quit was a really good example of the new stuff that's coming that has that message in it. Gonna Take kind of touches on it a little bit, but it's an older song. It didn't really only focus on it. It had some little me getting a little cocky or whatever in it, which is okay too. Like, a lot of people think positivity and they think that means you have to be this perfect little angel. I'm here to tell you, no, the fuck it doesn't. You can be a positive person and still be scorned as fuck. You can be, it's how you direct that energy, okay? If you have that energy that's still hurt and damaged, but you can direct it in a way that's showing other people like it's okay to just be you, you're going to be fine if you keep going, then it's okay to show that. A little bit of cockiness or a little bit of extra confidence. It's the people who do it in a way that's just shoving stuff in people's faces or being ignorant because they got something more than somebody else, that's been disgusting me a lot lately. And even then, I tend to think to myself to not focus on that too much, because karma's real. Or the energies you put into the universe, whatever you want to call it, it's real. And let me tell you, when people are like that, something's coming back for them to teach them their lesson. It's just how the world works. You don't believe me? Look at how up Diddy was and for how long he was up, and look at what's happening to him. When people get to that level of setting themselves different or holding themselves to looking at people different than who they are as a human based on materials, their time's coming too. And the world has a way of waking people up. The universe does. But I'm just here, like I said and was trying to say earlier, I'm not on here to try to tell anybody that I'm any better than them at what I'm doing. There's probably 100,000 or not, if not 1,000,000 people out here that's just as good, if not better, than anything I've done. In fact, I listen to my own stuff sometimes and I cringe a little bit because it's not what I expected when I started on that mission for that specific project. And I have work to do, but I want to be the epitome and show you how to be the epitome of the person that does not give up, that does not quit, that does not stop. As I'm going on this live for the first time, where both of them are combined, and I'm working on getting it to where Facebook's one too, I am literally right back in a position of walking through some of the same stuff that I just spent years to fight through and work out. But I'm not on here to tell you that it's impossible. I'm on here to tell you that if we keep going, it can't stop us forever. It's gonna be okay. But we have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. We have to keep being okay with our own belief system inside of ourselves. And we have to reflect and look at what our belief system is and make sure that it's not just a battle within ourselves, because I still deal with that too. And I've been learning a specific term that's been helping me finally understand that a little bit. This is where the whole tripping thing came from to begin with, was two separate pieces of my character, really three, that were fighting with each other to set the precedence of who I am as a person. So I made them each a piece in the character within my music so I could display all of them without taking anything away from me, you know, because people would quickly be like, well, you contradict yourself. No, it's different pieces of me that feel these different ways. Well, the term that was just referring to is called cognitive dissonance. It's when your belief system does not line up with your goals and what you're trying to achieve. So you think you're trying to get X, Y, and Z out of something, but what you really believe in believes that A, B, and C is what's more important. And it creates this inner conflict within ourselves where we think, oh, I shouldn't do that. It's not the right thing to do, but yet I have to if I want to achieve this goal. So the first thing we have to do to get past that is to start aligning our goals with our beliefs. See, maybe $100 million was my goal before, because money's always been one of my problems that I have to overcome. Money's always been something I didn't properly manage. Money's always been something that I didn't have as a child. So now I believed I needed $100 million. But some of the things it takes to get to that level of wealth includes being a little stingy with how you operate when you have money. And there's nothing wrong with people who do that if it aligns with their belief systems. But it made it impossible for me to both align with my belief systems and meet my goals, because I believe in helping. If I have it, you have it. That's a belief of mine. If I have it, there has to be some stinginess. Some people will see that in you and they will exploit it to the maximum. And you have to be able to recognize that. But at the same time, if you're going to get to 100 million or something crazy like that, and that's your goal, then having to help anyone is a nuisance toward that goal. So I had to reevaluate and say, you know, 100 million is not really one of my goals. Financial freedom is. So what's financial freedom going to look like? How can I own my home without having payments on it? How can I have a retirement account that's sufficient? How can I have income coming in without having to put hours to get paid for that? Music is a perfect example of this. If you go to a job, you can only make whatever hours you put into it. If you're doing this online streaming thing, these online streaming things, or you're doing things like registering music, writing books, anything that comes with royalties, it's infinite. There's not an X amount of time you put in, which a lot of people realize this, so there's a huge pool of people competing for that money, especially when you have advertisement companies spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year to pay these streaming services to place ads. There's a huge pool of people fighting for that money. Not physically fighting for that money, but competing online. And everybody's trying to etch out what their space is within that. But to have it, once you've created that digital asset, it lasts a lifetime. So that's part of my plan for financial freedom. It's not that my music or my streams that I do need to go viral every time. It's that I need to continue to regenerate enough streams off of the assets, the digital assets that already exist, that I can fund myself and what I do closer to having that financial freedom. And that's a completely different goal. See, now the cognitive dissonance kind of starts to close once you look at it that way. Because now you're not shooting for the stars and something that almost seems impossible, and definitely is impossible if you keep up with the character and belief systems that you like to have, the value system that you're trying to maintain on your rise up. And that's just money. I always go to money because money's been one of the things that always made me feel inferior to the next person. And I'm trying not to be an inferior person. I've been through hell. I've been through more hell than most people that I personally know. There's always somebody out there that's been through more of them. That's the other thing I'm learning. But out of the people I personally know, there is not a single person I don't know that hasn't been through some hell. And it's easy to value mine as more because I'm the one that physically walked through it, so I'm biased. But my goal is to kind of not do that, actually, to reach out to those people and be there to help push them to the next level, so they can help push me to the next level, so we can all continue to build and build on positivity and build on beliefs that are worth having, not hatred. And I'm sorry, but if you look out here in this world, every day is a war and a battle. Every day out here, it is forced down our throats from a systematic level to be divided, to be hatred, to be filled with hatred, to just be the most insane levels of unjust as possible. And it's from the actual system that's in place. It's sad and it's sickening and I hate it. And I don't know a solution, so I don't try to call it out as that too often. The biggest solution I know is to personally, one person at a time, try to touch lives and try to help people find whatever feels right within their own personal beliefs. And if I'm wrong for doing that, then I guess I'm going to die being wrong, you know? And at this point, I've went on probably the longest monologue of my freaking life, and I'm ready to just end this and let it be what it is. But if I'm going to end it, I have to say, if you're one of those people and you believe that it's better to not try or it's easier to just give up right now, just remember anything is possible when you put the work into it. I've went from hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to right now I'm just above even, and I still have my own battles. But watch. Follow me. Like what I got going on and hit the follow button and watch. Because I built this of what's coming from me over the past 3, 4, 5 years while I've been knocking down everything else. And I promise you, there's nothing that can completely stop this in its tracks at this point. I don't even know that I could completely stop this in its tracks at this point. So just watch. Follow along and watch. And then if that makes you believe, you reach out to me and you ask me what else you can do in your life to help you to get what I'm doing going. Or something similar, something that fits you in your personality. There's more than one person that's on the same path I'm on right now that's had these conversations with me, and I trust and believe their success is coming too. It's not always apparent right away. It takes time. But watch. Follow along and watch. I'm going to get off of here. I want to say God bless to everybody. I want to say stay positive. And I do truly have love for each and every being out there. Please keep going. Please never quit.